Yeah, Coach, why do you think that the older generation kind of hustle like backwards in a way where you see these young cats on the grind right now?
I just think they don't necessarily understand the value of social media. They don't get it. Like the older generation, like, yeah, they got a Twitter and yeah, they got a Facebook, but they don't know how that is an investment for whatever they're doing, whether it be athletics, music, or any. I don't think they quite understand the reach it has.
Right.
Uh, so I think that's part of the disconnect there when it comes down to the whole social media. I don't think they just necessarily understand.
What have you learned from it by obviously you adapting because you played overseas a while ago and social media wasn't as big when you was hooping overseas as it is now?
I mean, even when I came back from playing overseas, I was training for a while here, and it was like I created a page for it, and all of a sudden I was connecting with people an hour, 45 minutes away from Indianapolis, where it was just like I wouldn't have ever met them had I not created just a simple Instagram page and
Right.
put up training stuff.
Yeah. It's like you coach a lot of high profile players just from their
Right.
social media. Like how is it coaching like Indy Heat 2022 and all those guys are being recruited and everybody has their eye on them?
It's unique in a way. I mean, because I've had this team since they were in eighth grade. Now, not
Wow.
everybody that was on that team is still on the current roster. So it's changed a lot of different personalities, but this team specifically, the thing that helps them is that they all have uh, parents that keep them kind of like rooted and grounded.
That's dope.
So that helps a lot. Not too many, because I mean, really, when you coach a team of this caliber, you really got to manage personalities.
Right.
Uh, but it helps because their parents are like so locked in on it. And like, no, if he's doing something, you have all rights to handle it however you want to handle it. And then I'm going to handle it too.
Be like parents for me out here, talking to different coaches because I'm on the social media end, they talk
Mm-hmm.
about how disgruntled the parents can be. Have
Yeah.
you had a case where you had to tell a parent like, hey, like I'm in the business of winning, like I get why you're upset, but how do you handle that conflict with a parent?
For me, like, it's crazy because you do have those situations. And I just try to explain to them because I don't have a dog in the hunt. Not any kid on my roster is related to me. I didn't know them prior to basketball. So my main thing is I want them to be in a better situation. Uh, and I want better for them than what I have for myself. And I think I had it good. So when it comes down to that, it's just trust the process, understand what you're getting yourself into, specifically with Indy Heat. You knew what you were getting into when you came over here.
Sure.
You knew you're probably going to be on the best platform there is. We didn't play EYBL this year, but I still could say we probably had the biggest platform of any other AAU team in the country this year. So I try to explain to them those benefits and try to kind of save them from themselves because to be honest, like, like I know you've been around long enough. It,
Absolutely.
a toxic family could be like, no, we're good on them. I don't care how good the talent is. We're okay.
Absolutely. Um, how do you how do you assemble like your team in a way where like they all play together? Like I watched you guys that weekend at the showcase for the very first time, and
Mm-hmm.
everyone played really unselfishly. You guys have limited practice, so how did you get the guys just to buy in?
Well, for me, I thought it was really big for us. When we first created the roster, we were supposed to have Paul McMillan as our point guard out of Cincinnati, who's tremendous. But due to COVID situations, he wasn't able to come. And we had always wanted, well, I had always wanted Tayshawn Comer as well.
Yeah, he's a
So
beast.
then, yeah, so we were able to get him. And I think that really like started everybody because now it's putting everybody in their natural positions for them to really succeed. And when I talked to the guys, I said I had a conversation with them because we try to meet before a game, and I had a conversation with them before our first game, just letting them know like college coaches want to see you. They already have you projected at where they think you could play at when you
Right.
come here, whether it be they think you're a scorer, they think you're going to be a rim protector, whatever it is. So I wasn't hesitant with letting them know what I felt like,
Right.
you know, translates to college for them. So for that, it kind of helped, us having that point guard and then having guys who are really mature. And then it helps that most of them have some kind of relationship outside of AAU, whether it be they're from Indianapolis and grew up together, or Fletcher just transferred in to play at Homestead with Andrew Leeper.
Right.
Um, Peter Moe and Tayshaun play together. CJ and Tay, they train together. So it's a lot easier to trust a guy. Yeah, I don't know you a lot, but I know enough about you to where I'm going to trust you. And I'm not going to make that selfish play that I would normally make because I know you.
Absolutely. And for the parents, that do listen and people who may not know you, how did you transition to coaching? Because you was a former D1 athlete, former professional basketball player. So how did your coaching journey start?
Yeah, so actually when I got done playing, I was like 28 years old. And I was like, well, I need to, I don't know, probably get a job.
Yeah.
So I moved back to Indianapolis and started my professional career in terms of working and got a job. And then my friend Don Carlisle, who's now the head coach at Ben Davis, he was coaching the AAU team and he became the head coach at Arlington High School here.
Nice.
So he brought me over to coach with him for 2 years, which is a tremendous experience, kind of different than any other experience that I've ever had in my life. Um, and then with that, I started connecting with people. I coached AAU for like 2, 3 years. I had like a club team for Indiana Elite. Um, and it was great because I developed relationships and really had to develop a lot of talent, help develop a lot of talent because they don't treat the club teams the same as the other teams. So really just honing in on that. And then a few years passed, and then I finally was able to, I went over to Brebeuf Jesuit with Todd Howard, who was my assistant coach at IUPUI, and he took over as head coach at IUPUI for a few years. And then now he's at Brebeuf. So for me, it was like, always felt like he was a basketball genius, like just a complete junkie. And he and I had always had a great relationship. So we hit it off there. And then I was running a workout for one of my friends, and Todd and Jared came down and they saw the workout and we started talking. And then it was like, hey, we got a team. You want to coach this team? I was like, yeah, I do. I
Man,
was like,
that's crazy. Jared and Todd, they're good people. They they give you the resources, and it's up to you to maximize that opportunity that they give you, um, so they can have that trust. And what I saw in you guys do was unbelievable. And then for
right,
me to hear the story on how you became with Gym Rats with Todd and Jared, everyone knows like it's organic. You know what I mean? The relationship
right.
that everyone has within Gym Rats. Um, what countries did you play in? Like, I want to know that. I'm pretty sure a lot of people want to know as well.
Yeah. So like, just to, fast forward a little bit on my professional career, like coming out of IUPUI, I was good. I mean, I averaged 10 points. I ended up scoring over 1,000 points, 500 plus rebounds.
Like Fletch.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah, just a little bit. But still there, trying to come out. Like you and I were talking the other day, we were texting. It was 2010 I was coming out. The economy sucked in terms of finding jobs overseas. And my numbers, to be honest, weren't the best. I didn't shoot threes and stuff like that. So it was just like, what are you going to do? And I knew that before I get into coaching, I need to get all this basketball out of me because we've all seen that one guy who coaches who didn't get all the basketball out of him.
No question. You could tell.
Yeah, you could tell. And I was like, I can't do this. Like, that can't be me.
Right.
So, I mean, I played ABA, UBA, and then eventually I got my shot to go play in the lower league in Chile. And I was like, I'm going. I don't care. They was
Yeah.
like, well, we're going to give you such and such. I was like, I don't care. I don't have any overhead. I'm debt free. Like, let's go.
Right.
So I went over there and I tore that league up. And then um, I went to their top league there. So I was all in all, I was in Chile for like a full calendar year. Um,
Wow.
and like I killed there. So I loved Chile. It was really good. Just I was like, well, I got to get another opportunity. So then I played in like a league in Mexico for about 6 months, and that was cool. But my big break was when I went to Lebanon.
Man,
Um,
Lebanon's nice.
Oh, it's beautiful. It was amazing. Where they had me living was right off the beach and everything. So I played over there for a year, and that season was really great. I mean, we had pros over there. Whiteside was over there at the time.
Oh,
Um, yeah, I mean, his team killed our team, but I gave his team buckets and
that
talked
that
crazy to him.
experience though is like when you connect with these kids, bro. You be like, dude, I did this. You know what I mean?
Right,
Like I made money playing this game, and I'm trying to help you get to
right.
your goals. Um, what's your thoughts about the EYBL? It's a Premier League. Like when I came in, is when you first got out of college,
Yeah,
and it was me, like I said, just to name a few: Deshaun Thomas, Marcus T, Rayfield Davis, Yogi Ferrell, like we were loaded. But to play with like Marcus Teague and Deshaun Thomas in the EYBL was above my head at that time. So, what's your thoughts about the event?
it's crazy. I mean, I graduated high school in 2005, and I played for All Ohio Red. Um, and years before us, like it was Drew Lavender's class. He's 2 years older than me. They won the national championship. And I always played up the age group, and we always had chances down in Orlando at the Nationals and stuff. We never necessarily won that, but to see what it was there, because we would go from Peach Jam, then you would go to Orlando and stay there for, it felt like forever, but you'd be there for like 10 days.
True.
And then fast forward until when 2010 they start EYBL, and you're like, oh, okay, that's nice. That's good. They kind of created a league. And then last year, I go down there to Peach Jam, and I'm like, whoa, this is a whole nother monster here. Um, I mean, yeah, you see the stats of this many NBA players are playing there, but okay, forget the guys who are in the NBA that play the EYBL. It's a guy that's going to Missouri. He's gonna be there for 4 years, and he is here, and it's everything is way more difficult on the EYBL circuit in terms of because the talent is so high, and the guys, everybody is there competing crazy. College coaches on the sideline. Is the atmosphere is absolutely nuts. Merchandise sells out within hours. Like,
What's your experience like when you coach? Is like, do you feel like you actually on the court, but you see the cameras, the EYBL,
oh yeah,
your favorite athletes, or whoever superstars is watching? Like, damn, I'm really out here.
yeah. No, and that's really what it is. It's like, okay, this is everybody's right now. It's your turn, and as a coach, it's like I feel like I'm playing. I leave those games like I got to go and take a shower. No, I can't go eat right now. I need to go take a shower, and then we can figure out after that. It's insane, and then the preparation for it is, I mean, it's bar none. What you have to do to get ready for these games, scouting reports, and how you have to literally go in depth on the scouting. And it's great. They do a great job with, having stats available to you and having film available to you. So it's just a whole nother monster when it comes down to that.
Let's talk about obstacles briefly. Like, what are some of those obstacles as a basketball player you face, or as a coach, and you was able to overcome those obstacles?
Yeah. So for me, I don't know. I mean, quite a few obstacles. You'll always have obstacles as a player.
Right.
The biggest thing was for me transitioning from um, life after basketball. I guess if we
Yeah.
could even go there.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's tough.
Uh,
A lot of athletes now. I mean, your favorite player got so much going on off the floor, right?
yeah,
And now you have those players that's like during COVID, all they know is the game. So like,
yeah,
how do you deal? That's an obstacle now for us athletes. Like, how do you deal with
absolutely.
that?
And it's so crazy, and especially the longer you play, the more of an obstacle it becomes. Because I mean, if you're not going to the NBA, then 9 times out of 10, you'll be in a situation where you're probably going to have to go get a job later on, unless you like playing in those higher Euro leagues and things of that nature. But all of throughout your life, especially for me, I stopped at 28. It was like, oh, I no longer get this. Like, I have to go out and now at 28 become an adult, or I have to now go out and do that. So that was a huge obstacle for me, just really adjusting to everyday life. My fiance would tell you right now, like she couldn't stand me that
Yeah,
first year out because I had no idea what it is, because what I went to school for is what I wanted to do and be when I was 21, 22.
no question.
Now I'm 28. and I'm so far removed. Everybody's graduated with that degree. It's more difficult to even land a job in that field. So it was just like that was the biggest obstacle for me. But one thing that I did was I leaned on other guys who were in my situation, other former pro athletes, and I saw how they adjusted. Like I mentioned earlier, I coached with Don Carlisle at Arlington, and for me, that was therapeutic because he was similar to me. He played at IUPUI, and then he played overseas for a lot of years, and then later on, he had to figure out what he was going to do in his career. So for me, it was like, okay, I was able to lean on him, and then I was able to stay close to the game by coaching, which allowed my transition to be a lot more easier than what it was because at first I didn't know what I was going to do.
Sure.
Uh, just trying to figure out life.
Yeah. No, no, I think that's dope that you share that because like a lot of athletes, especially those that play in Europe, and they expect to get a job in August or this upcoming month, September, they're dealing with mental health right now. I mean, a lot
Yeah,
of people laying low who you used to seeing on social media and they ghost right now. And when you're an athlete, you've been an athlete, you know why you haven't heard from them. It's around
right.
that time and it's like you get those goosebumps and it's just like, I got to rely on my peers now.
Exactly, exactly. You get so, I mean, like you said, like they don't post as much on social media as they were. Shirts, what I mean, shirts off in the gym,
Right.
making 1,000 threes. Like, no, you're not posting that right now because you don't even want that question to be presented to you. Like, where you going next?
Yeah.
Because you don't want to have to try to find your way through that conversation.
It's an uncomfortable conversation that most brothers, and sisters have to have now in this era right now
Right.
because
It's so crazy.
Instagram, it's different. That's you control what you post, but you have that person that's posting what's going through mental health issues just to provide for their followers.
Right. Exactly. And,
Um,
and you like I know, I mean, like you do make good money over there. If you're not doing the right things with your money,
yeah,
you get to August now, you're like, oh, what am I gonna
yeah.
do now?
I mean,
Like,
it's tough. I mean, I have many peers live check to check that will
mhm.
get that first check and feel like they're on, but it's like, dude, you have to save, especially when you're grinding in Europe, because they
Yeah,
already don't want to pay you,
right,
especially COVID now. They lowballing us heavy, so it's
right,
like staying optimistic, staying ready. But we're blessed to have a team and people that we could count on to, hey, help me get over this hurdle.
right.
So I think that's really dope. Last question: who was the people that shaped you, bro, to be the person you are today?
I mean, obviously, my parents, a tremendous set of parents. My mother um, is amazing, and then my father, who is actually not a lot of people would know. I mean, he's my stepfather, but he's been my father. He's all I've known since what 6, 7 years old. I think that's when they got married. I could be completely wrong, but he's literally all I've known. He's never done anything different. Uh, I saw the way he sacrificed literally everything for me, and I'm not necessarily his bloodline, but he treated me that way. And even coming out of school, didn't necessarily have the grades, and we were juggling between junior college or prep school, and he did all the research on it and made sure that we found the perfect fit for me and going prep. And there's not a day that I don't count on him for some kind of advice, some way to transition through everything. And then my late grandfather, who was absolutely amazing, uh, always like, no, you can do it, you got it done. Um, but and then in terms of like the coaching field, um, I was blessed to play for arguably, I think, the best high school coach in the state of Ohio. His name's Greg Collins. He's won everywhere he's went. He's turned programs around. Um, and then move on to my coaches at IUPUI, the whole staff from Ron Hunter, Todd Howard, Matt Crenshaw, even Austin Parkinson, who's now the head women's coach at IUPUI. Those are just some people who helped push me. And then my fiance is amazing. Is like she trusts the process. Like how you always everybody that's the new thing, like
Yeah,
trust the process.
no
No,
problem.
she literally trusts the process and she makes it easy for us, for me to kind of live through those coaching dreams and get things done. And she takes care of the house and our son. So it's really my family when it comes down to everything.
You have a village of people, man, and I think you have a true testimony where you can share your experience with the young guys coming up, um,
Right.
and give those kids their flowers. Like, hey, because you have these older people that when they hoop in this open gym, they don't want to give the young brothers they flowers because they still
Right.
they didn't get all the basketball out of them. And
Right.
my guy, like I know what you're trying to be on, but like give this young guy his flowers. You know what I mean?
E-
He's trying to go Division 1 or get that free education. You still have this pride that you can't set aside.
Exactly. And that's how it was. Like, luckily in my city, it's like I come from a small town, it's Mansfield, Ohio. We're famously known for Shawshank Redemption was filmed there. And then other than that, like if you ask anybody else in Ohio if they heard of Mansfield, they'd be like, oh, yeah, that's where the prisons are. Because everybody, if you get locked up, you probably come to Mansfield for a while for the prison. But like everybody in my hometown is like, all right, we're gonna take care of the next dude. Like we lived ours, we tried it, we gave it everything we got, and the next man is up. And it's so many guys who I could speak to that. Even when I spoke earlier with me having to move back home in that gap between college and going to play pro is a guy by the name of Leroy Mack who can absolutely go. And every day he was at the gym every day. All right, let's go. Playing one on one, helping me figure out things. He's always been a wing. I'm trying to develop to be a two, and ultimately end up having to play the one a few years too when I was overseas. But it was just those little things. Like I think everybody needs that, and like you said, uh, as the older generation, we have to find a better way to give these guys the flowers, give them all the knowledge that you have
Right.
early on,
So
because
much,
they don't know.
there's so much resources out here now. Like you could really be anything you want or have
Yeah,
the desire because it's on YouTube.
right.
YouTube free classroom.
Yeah,
And I tell, especially here in Gary, Indiana, in the urban community where there's a lot of poverty, like, dude, you don't have to be that statistic. There's so much opportunity here. You have Chicago that's 20 minutes away, and then you will be surprised there's a lot of brothers and sisters that's never been to Chicago, and
yeah.
it's up the street here. But I'm like, hey, with social media, we have a positive influence, on the next generation. I think what you and I are doing is really huge, and we're blessed to really have a dope family in a village.
Right, exactly. And it's like you said, and I know a little bit about the area, having some teammates from up there. Then one of my best friends, Gary Patterson, played at Bishop Knowles and from East Chicago.
Okay.
Uh, and he just tells me it's similar to where I grew up at. I mean, based off of steel mill factory living. So I understand that mindset. The only difference is you guys are, like you said, 20 minutes from Chicago. So literally, like it's so much right there next to you that you can look at. And I just the village is such a strong point. And I think in the African American community, our village as well, I think is probably one of the strongest you'll see. Now we have to do a job of creating opportunities for each other.
Amen.
Um,
No,
and that's huge, I think.
I 1000% agree. Coach Avery, I appreciate it again, bro. Like I said, I can't wait to have you on for part 2. I appreciate you
Absolutely.
taking time out this morning and coming on the podcast and sharing your journey.
I appreciate it. Thanks for having me on. I definitely listen to it as much as I can. I think it's amazing. And everything that you're doing, and I know we're ready to go, but everything that you're doing in terms of um, interviewing our kids and getting them prepared, I think that's tremendous. I think so many reporters I've run into in the past few years is like, man, this dude's 16 years old. Why are you asking him that?
Right.
Help him out. Like I don't think they do enough job. And with you, you make it so conversational and you bring it to that level. I mean, you did an incredible one with Tayshawn,
Well,
just talking about, what are you listening to now? Who do you
what's that
study?
playlist like?
Yeah, exactly. So I think that's incredible. So keep doing what you're doing. I love the outlet that you're providing for all of our kids. I think it's going to do nothing but making them more marketable.
I appreciate you, brother. And like I said, man, we've all been down that path and we all been interviewed by different reporters. And you like, dude, you asked me this controversial question. Like I
Right,
can't even explain myself yet. And
right.
yeah, I get they have their own agenda, but in this era, you could be as organic and genuine and people will appreciate it.
Exactly. It's so simple. I mean, don't put the kid in the box just because you want to get a good interview. Like, don't do that.
Right.
Don't do
Absolutely. So I appreciate it again, brother, and I can't wait to get this out so everyone can listen to it.
Definitely. I appreciate it. Enjoy your weekend and everything, man.